And we are live. Welcome to the World Series preview episode of the Bullpen Cart presented by ThunderblogSports.com, the namesake of the Bullpen Cart podcast feed. I, of course, am Jordy Cannell, the G-Man, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Greg the Prophet Piatelli. Greg, how are you?
Living the dream, Jordy. Gearing up, getting ready for big World Series tomorrow. Tuesday night is probably tonight for most people. I couldn't be more pumped.
I know. It's going to be a ton of fun. Red Sox and the Dodgers. If you haven't seen it, fun for me, probably a little bit stressful for you, considering it is your Red Sox. But
so
Greg,
there's a chance I'll be going to Game 2.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's a chance.
I keep saying I need to give you the credentials to the Thunderblog Instagram account, but if you're going, you're getting the credentials. People need to feel the atmosphere. It needs to be so palpable that they taste it. And we need that. We need the effect.
I know.
But
yeah, I'm pumped.
That's fucking awesome. But we have not talked since before the playoffs even started. So do you want to do a quick recap of how we got here throughout the playoffs, or just through the two teams?
Yeah, let's talk about the two teams. Let's talk about let's talk about how the Red Sox beat up on little brother New York Yankees. Let's talk about how the Red Sox.
Okay, Mike Hart.
That's exactly the Vinovich guy, right? That's what I was going for.
No, I was making a Michigan State reference. Mike Hart called.
No, that's the same thing. The D end, that D end for their team, the blonde hair kid.
Oh yeah.
I was doing the same.
That's thing. Different podcast. But yeah. So the Red Sox.
So let's talk about how they
came in.
Let's go ahead.
Red Sox came into the playoffs, overall number 1 seed. They faced the winner of the wild card game, the New York Yankees, and for all intents and purposes, even though it went to Game 4, they just manhandled the New York Yankees. They ragdolled them, and what was it? Game 3 was the 16-4 game, and pretty much just asserted all levels of an ass whooping on them. Hard to believe the Yankees also won 100 games there, and then they just took down the Houston Astros in the ALCS in 5 games. Which, Greg, they won 4 straight after a Chris Sale kind of dud that he threw 4 innings. His fastball had lost a lot of speed off of it, and then he gets spotted out in Game 5, and David Price overcame his demons and pitched an absolute gem in Game 5 to send you to the World Series. Your first one.
Yeah, so Chris Sale didn't start because of an illness, Jordy.
Well, yeah, he got spotted out because of the illness.
And the reason why he quote-unquote didn't pitch well so far, even though he has, but he was hurt end of the season. He didn't play in September. Sure. So
that's something that I read was that he had been taking some drugs that didn't sit with him well for the injury, and that's why he got sick with the stomach stuff.
Yeah, did you hear his excuse?
Yeah, that he hit because of a belly button ring.
A belly button ring infection gone wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the belly button ring. No,
it sounds like he's a kid of the mid '90s.
What's impressive here with this Red Sox team and how they've made it this far is the opposite of what everyone thought. Everyone thought their bullpen was going to be the problem and their starters were going to have to win games for them. It's been the opposite. Their starters have been good, but they've been decent. Their bullpen, with the exception of one person who controversial here in Boston, Craig Kimbrell, their bullpen has been spectacular. But the real reason why the Red Sox got here is because their offense is just putting up crazy numbers. And when you look at it,
buzzing.
Yeah, and when you look at it, Mookie Betts and JD Martinez have yet to have the type of season, the postseason that they had during the regular season, and the fact that this team has gotten to where they've gotten so far with those two guys, two MVP candidates, not performing as well as they could, is huge. Like, we're talking about a team where this postseason, the leading. I mean, JD Martinez is leading the team in RBIs with 9, tied with Jackie Bradley Jr. But he's a 313 average, and I mean, it wasn't great for a while there. So it's the point being, Mookie Betts hit in 205. The point being that this team offensively is getting at bats and good production from everyone else in their team. And if those two guys get going, JD Martinez and Mookie Betts, then there's no chance that their offense doesn't continue to perform. And if their pitching can continue to hold teams to less than the offense scores, then it could be a quick little series here. But as an outsider perspective, Jordy, how do you think the Red Sox, or what was wrong, or what's different than what I said about how they got here?
No, I think you're spot on. The bullpen was kind of that, hold on to your seats, hold on to your hats, take a deep breath, and ride this thing out. And a couple times you saw it. I think it was game 1, the ALDS, where Kimbrel was a little rocky. Even I think it was game 4. You obviously have the Benintendi catch that saves them there against Houston. And then even in game 5, he was a little shaky. But I mean, I think their starting pitching spun enough gems that the bullpen wasn't as bad of an issue, or at least as bad as it could have been. But the offense exploding at the right times, is exactly what you need. I mean, you've scored 56 runs in 9 postseason games. It's pretty absurd. It's it's a lot of scoring there, and if you're putting up over 6 runs a game, which they are, it's tough to lose a lot of those contests. You really have to hope that the opponent against you isn't a team that has the firepower to do it. Houston was one of those teams, or at least on paper they were, and they scored 5 runs a game in game 2, or 7 runs in game 1, which the Red Sox lost. 5 runs in game 2, which the Red Sox offense outpaced them 7-5 the win. Game 3, they put up only 2 runs. The Red Sox put up 8 anyway. Game 4, which we mentioned before, the Astros were charging back, but the Red Sox offense had put them up enough. So I think you're right. If Mookie and JD Martinez continue to, or if they start to get it going and the rest of the offense around them continue to be as clutch as they have been, specifically Jackie Bradley Jr., who you mentioned his 9 RBIs, are all of them with 2 outs, or is it 7?
Sorry, one more time. 2 outs? Yeah, no, I don't know the exact number, but
it's something like that, where Jackie Bradley Jr. has been David Ortiz-like in terms
9
of his
RBIs.
clutchness.
9 RBIs, and the craziest part about him is his average is like below 200 or right at 200, and he's got 3 hits or something like that, and they're all home runs. And sorry, he's got 5 hits and 2 of which are home runs, 2 doubles, and 9 RBIs. So in the whole playoffs, but 3 hits in the other series. But the point being, Jordy, that this team. Sorry, are you saying something?
No, I completely agree. I think really it hinges on the offense, because you even saw you see in some of these games where the bullpen does let up a little bit, or if the starting pitching isn't as on, if they're off, but if their offense is clicking on all levels like it has been, that it almost doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that you're keeping that high scoring pace. LA certainly has the bats to do so, and we'll talk about them in a couple minutes. But if the Red Sox continue to play like this, it's going to be, it may not be a quick series, and we'll talk about some of the caveats that the World Series brings. But I do think it's in the Red Sox favor, and the public agrees, Vegas agrees, which might be the only concern if you're a Red Sox fan, is how much favoritism is being shown towards this team.
Yeah, especially considering that everyone thought that the Astros were going to blow them out, and everyone thought the Yankees were going to beat them, and I
didn't think the Yankees would. I did think Houston was going to.
Yeah, but we're talking the network that shall not be named that no one watches anymore because they're a joke. But honestly, Jordy, the best part for this whole playoffs for me has been watching David Ortiz and Pedro Martinez. Pedro being on TBS and Ortiz being on Fox. Their pregame and postgame shows with those two guys has been electric when talking about the Red Sox. And
I'm really hoping that Fox hires Pedro because he's been outstanding on TV.
Oh yeah, well he's TBS, but yeah, he's been unreal so far.
That's what I'm saying. I said I'm hoping that Fox just snags him for their because they get the World Series. So I'm hoping that they hire him to come on to be with Ortiz, and they can just shit on A-Rod the whole time.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Jimmy Rollins because he doesn't get the. I feel like he's the only one between Sheffield and Pedro and him, the only one that was neutral, but also was the most talking like a baseball analyst would, and the other two are just like, oh, when I played, I hit dingers. When I played, I struck out 1 million people, and I feel bad for Rollins because he couldn't get a word in. But Jordy, tell me how the Dodgers got here.
Yeah, so the Dodgers came in. They were the overall number 2 in the National League. They had to play an extra game at game 163. And beat the Colorado Rockies, who would then beat the Cubs, but lose to the Brewers. LA would host the Atlanta Braves and beat them. They've had a little bit different of a road, Greg. They've had to go through 4 games against the Atlanta Braves, even though that game 3 that they lost wasn't really the worst loss in the world. It's still, it's almost like they just let up for a second. But then they had to really pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They go to Milwaukee. They lose in a thrilling game 1, 6-5. Then in a thrilling game 2, they end up splitting the away part. So they got home field back, but immediately blow it. They lose game 3, 4-0. And all of a sudden, you're not really sure what they're going to do. How is this offense going to fare? They win an absolute thriller 13-game, game 4, 2-2 series. Game 5, they win 5-2. Looks like they're going to come into game 6 and take this and meet the Red Sox in the World Series. But they lose 7-2. And then in a incredible game 7, the Brewers won 5-1. And on all different angles of how their bullpen's been going and how their starting pitching has been, they bring in Clayton Kershaw to get a ceremonial save, even though he doesn't get officially recorded one. But he came in and pitched the 9th inning to send his team back into the World Series for the 2nd straight year. Alex Cora obviously was on the Astros team last year, so it is Alex Cora versus the Dodgers again. But this Dodgers team, Greg, they made a lot more noise throughout this season in terms of acquiring players, in terms of having a pitching staff that has been pretty solid for the most part. 2 guys right at the top of their rotation, rookie Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw, who have done a pretty good job. But their offense had been what had been their jumping off point. And for a lot of the season, it had been, really relying on where they were. Remember, this Dodgers team had to really rally as the season went on. They had injuries. They had, pitchers. Clayton Kershaw was on the DL for a bit. Justin Turner was on the DL twice. They were, out of the division for a little bit, and they clawed their way into that game 163. And beat the Rockies to get the 2 seed in the league, almost in the division. But remember, Arizona was up there for so long. So this team has faced adversity, even with all of these different pieces that they've added. The biggest one and the biggest story throughout the postseason is probably Manny Machado, who had himself a little bit of a, shall we say, rough look in the NLCS. But they also
that's been him his whole career, though. He's always been
That's true. That's absolutely true.
And,
now it's on national display.
Yeah,
but a couple other guys
like Chase Utley when he went there, and he was a scumbag too. And
he was always on national display. He the Phillies were good when Chase Utley took out Mets players. That's when the Phillies were good. So it was getting talked about then. Then he did it in the postseason as a Dodger, but he's not playing. He won't be. He is inactive. He's had a little chair, his dad chair that the team made for him.
My point is, once a scumbag, always a scumbag. But the thing that gets me the most is this Dodgers team, 43 runs scored this postseason.
Yes.
Compared to the Red Sox, 56.
Well, and mind you, it's 43 runs in 11 games compared to the Red Sox 56 in 9 games.
Correct.
So that's less than 4 runs a game versus over 6 runs a game.
Yes, and this Red Sox team, I hate to keep harping on it, but their offense, if they can continue to get runs from the bottom of their order, it's going to be tough to beat them. And that's the key. So if the Red Sox can continue the bottom of their order guys like Bradley Jr., Devers, Holt, Pierce, Kinsler, and the 2 catchers, or whoever is playing, Nunez, who's ever in the game there at the end, if those guys can continue to produce and come up in big spots and get on base, we're talking about a pretty good chance here for that team.
No, totally agree.
And the Dodgers, the thing we talk about all year, the thing that is helpful to them but also kind of hurts them is their depth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have so many good players that some of them don't get to play every game. That don't get the at bats that they may need to get into rhythm. And like Matt Kemp, 14 at bats. I mean, that's
good. A really good case in point for this is Brian Dozier, who's a guy they acquired from the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
Big home run hitter, and he's been coming off the bench the entire postseason. Yeah. He's had 11 ABs, no homers, only 2 ribbies. Greg, another big thing to think about too. Of the 43 runs scored, they have 13 homers. The Red Sox, as much as we've talked about their power and their clutch hitting, they've only hit 9 home runs this postseason, 1 homer a game. LA, 13 in 11 games, but still a lot of reliance on the long ball. Kind of the opposite story that you hear of National League versus American League.
Yeah, and the craziest part about the Dodgers is, the ball travels better than the heat, but that's not just kidding. No, they have 3 guys who are hitting over 300.
Yep,
and one of them is a pitcher.
It's true.
The Red Sox have
Hyun-Jin Ryu.
Yeah, exactly. And the Red Sox have way more than that, hitting over the 5 guys hitting over 300, and they have multiple guys that have multiple hits or double in terms of hits and all that, and they just, as you mentioned, they're getting it done with the little ways, and they've been doing it all year. They haven't really necessarily been so home run dependent all year, like the little brother team in New York there. But so, is there a more exciting player to watch than when Puig hit that home run? He went nuts.
Oh my God!
You think
that's the Ken Griffey Jr. commercial, which I don't think you and I ever got a chance to talk about. But the Ken Griffey Jr. let the kids play. Yeah. That's the embodiment of that.
Do you think he gets hit first game next year?
What, if they're playing Milwaukee or just in general?
Yeah, Milwaukee. Sorry,
he might. Kind of stupid. I think Milwaukee's a team that's a little more progressive, and Craig Counsell's not a big. I'm saying this with no basis, but he doesn't seem like an unwritten rules guy.
Craig Counsell.
Yeah.
His
weird batting stance. Yeah, that's probably why I'm thinking he's not an unwritten rules guy. I feel like there's an unwritten rule: you don't stand on your tippy toes in the batter's box.
Jordy. Okay, Jordy.
Yep.
We've talked about how they got here.
Yep.
Now let's talk about this series.
Yes. 2018 World Series. And Greg, it is going to be one hell of a series. Game 1 is Tuesday night. We mentioned 8:09 start up at Fenway. And it's going to be pretty exciting. Game 2 is the next night, Wednesday night. And Jesus Christ, I can't get the schedule up here. Then we go to LA for the weekend. But I'm really excited for this, Greg. How are you feeling as a fan?
The only thing that I'm scared of here is how many times we've seen a team loses the year before and then win the next year. Phillies turn around.
Nope.
The opposite?
No, Phillies. Well, they lost in the playoffs, but they got swept by the Rockies. Then they won the World Series. Then lost in the World Series.
Okay. Royals. Right?
Yep, the Royals.
So maybe only once.
In recent memory.
Right, but my point is...
We were close with the Rangers.
Yeah, okay. But my point being is that they're out for blood, right? They came so close last year, and they want nothing more than do it this year. Granted, their team is so much different, especially with their starting pitching to their bats for the most part, and they've been able to do it with different guys than did it last year. But that's the beauty of this team and the depth that they've had and the managerial job that Dave Roberts has done. You and I were critical of it, saying they had too much talent. They had too much stuff to go around, but clearly whatever they're doing is working because now they're in the World Series and Dave Roberts is
the same thing as last year.
Dave Roberts is a bunch of Dave Roberts is a bunch of guys who are buying in and believing in it and that's I mean, good for him, right? Good for him. So the big question mark here, I think, we're looking at for me is how much can they get out of their starting pitching, because we know the Red Sox jump all over teams' bullpens based on what they've done all postseason, what they've done all season. They jump all over teams' bullpens. How deep can the Dodgers starters go? Is Dave Roberts a guy that sticks with guys, or is he a guy that takes them out after 2 innings if they're having a bad inning or what have you?
So I think that depends on who's starting.
Mm-hmm. So let's compare the two teams' starting pitchers.
Okay. So starting with LA, you got Kershaw, who's scheduled to start game 1. You got the aforementioned Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's scheduled to be game 2. Dodgers have announced through game 3, it looks like. Walker Buehler, the rookie, will be game 3, and Rich Hill will be game 4 for the Red Sox. They also had a couple guys that were starters earlier this year.
For the Dodgers versus Red Sox, yeah.
Yeah. That the Dodgers have moved back into their bullpen, like Kenta Maeda. They've gotten Rich Hill out of the bullpen a couple times. They have Ryan Madsen, who's been the consummate middle relief guy for the Phillies, for the Reds when they were still good, for the Nationals, and now with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, really, I think what it starts off with is Kershaw and what kind of tone will he set in game 1. Ryu has been up and down in his postseason starts. Buehler's been also pretty up and down. He had a pretty good start in game 7, but I think really it flows through what you see out of Kershaw, and then if you can get innings out of Hill, what you can see with him as well.
Yeah, and the Red Sox counter with Sale, Price, Eovaldi, and Porcello or Erod or that's sort of, it's been those 4 and then Erod coming out of the bullpen. But the Rich Hill had a great postseason start last year, right?
Yep.
So that's a little scary, and he's at home and what have you. But
postseason ERA this year of 2.61.
Sale Kershaw matchup is super intriguing, but we're not getting, who knows what Chris Sale we're going to get, because they said he lost 10 pounds and he was already a skinny guy to begin with and what have you. The thing that everyone's kind of laughing about and kind of wish they had and calling for would be a Kershaw-Price matchup, 2 guys who have historically been terrible in the playoffs but had great regular seasons. Could you imagine we were robbed of that? So, but maybe
look like a Patriots-Rams game.
But maybe on a later on in the series you might get it with how the Red Sox and Dodgers tend to use their starters and swap things in and out. So you never know. We could still get it, but it's the matchup we're almost robbed of in this great.
You need to hope the belly button infection comes back around.
Right.
Yeah, for like game 5 or something. Yeah.
Right. So
could you imagine that? Because you know that game would be going against Sunday Night Football. Kershaw versus Sale. Like Chris Collinsworth might be going like, I'll tell you, you should go over to Fox and watch this game because I played in the NFL and I caught all these things. And he doesn't sound like that at all. So feel free to roast me on Twitter. But
I'm not sure who's the Sunday night game. Can't be anyone good. It's the World Series.
Yeah, I think it's pretty shitty. Yeah,
it's the World Series. Anyway, Jordy, let's get into this.
I know the Rams have a home. I don't think they're Sunday Night Football.
Edge.
The Edge. I'm gonna give to the Red Sox. I think they're just a little deeper.
LA starting 4, Red Sox starting 4. Yeah,
I'm gonna give it to the Red Sox. I think they're a little more deeper and a little more consistent, at least from what we've seen out of them in this postseason.
All right.
Because I think outside of Sale and really the trends that we've seen of David Price
wasn't great. I mean,
he was okay in that one or what was it, game 2 that he gets pulled.
Yeah. They won.
He got pulled after 4 innings. Yeah, he would have gotten a win if it.
Right. He let up like 4 runs and they ended up winning. Yeah. Okay, fine. You know what, Jordy? I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah. Selling the homer on his team. I'm all in.
All right. Yeah. Let's hop in. Let's come back to bullpen. Let's go into first base. Your catchers. We'll start with the 2s.
Okay. Yeah, go 1s to 2s. So the Dodgers bring in Yasmani Grandal. They also have a couple different guys. They kind of rotate in and out, but Grandal's definitely one of the bigger names that they throw in there. They have Austin Barnes. They'll sometimes put Max Muncy back there, but he plays a lot of first base for him. But Grandal, obviously, you remember him from last year and the controversy he started in the World Series. He's batting 125 right now, 11 strikeouts and 24 ABs, and only 3 hits to show. He does have a home run. It was a solo shot, but that's really about it from him. He has not had the offensive postseason that we'd be hoping to see. Austin Barnes hasn't been much better, batting 111, but he has, really, not a lot of production out of their catchers in Boston or in LA. I mean,
yeah, okay. Do you want me to go with the Red Sox? The Red Sox have, they have 3 on their roster in Blake Swihart, Sandy Leon, and Christian Vasquez. The only
that's
2
a baller move, by the way. Carrying the 3 catchers.
Well, the 3rd catcher, Blake Swihart, he's played left field for the Red Sox at any point. He's played first base. He's played all over the field for them.
Yeah.
Because he's such a good bat and they want him, but he's not. He's no behind the plate. He's not as good as the other 2. Vasquez is he's normally their starter, but it's normally like a 3-2 type thing between Vasquez and Leon. I think Leon's going to get the start. He normally catches Sale, so he'll probably get the start tomorrow. But one's had 8 games, one's had 7, so it's similar to. They've virtually played in every game, but Vasquez has a lot more at bats than Leon does. Anywho, the Leon terrible hitter for this Red Sox team, but unbelievable blocking the plate, unbelievable calling games. Chris Sale, his superstition thing is that he doesn't say no to a catcher, so whatever number the catcher puts down, he throws.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like his thing. He'll never shake off a catcher, so they like to put Leon out there because they think that Leon calls a better game than Vasquez. But everyone like David Price loves Vasquez, and half the other people like him too. So it's it's all pitchers. They're all finicky how they feel. But so based on your analysis of the Dodgers catcher and based on my analysis of the 2 Red Sox catcher, 3, but the 2 who play, who are you giving the edge to?
Yeah, it's tough. And I also want to correct myself. Max Muncy has not played any catcher has not caught at all for the Dodgers. It's just Barnes and Grandal. But I'm gonna go with the better trend currently, and I say that kind of haphazardly just because Vasquez is batting 227. But I'm gonna go with the Red Sox there. I think Vasquez has just been a little better than what the Dodgers have been offering, and I think, yeah, I do really like the fact that they carry the three different catchers and can move them around as they see fit, kind of like what the Cubs did. And it hasn't been the worst thing in the world, it seems.
Oh no, not at all. And Swihart definitely belongs to be there as he is. During the season, he was a good at bat for them for a while too. And I'm giving the edge to the Red Sox as well, and simply because they do have the flexibility of using all three, and Swihart is a very good offensive player if they need him as a third one. But Vasquez, he had that home run just like anyone else at the Yankee Stadium, that they hit a fly ball to right and it goes out. So he was able to take advantage of the Little League park that is Yankee Stadium and hit himself a home run and get himself a nice little RBI there. But he has some big hits and some big spots and had a big double right before that. So I'm going to give it to the Red Sox. First base, Jordy. We'll start with the Red Sox this time, if you don't mind.
Oh, no, because the Dodgers, this is where it starts getting intriguing with the Dodgers, and we'll jump into that in a minute. But break down the Red Sox for me.
The Red Sox, their normal first baseman during the regular season was Mitch Moreland, and then Steve Pearce would be their backup, with a slew of other people who can play first, but mainly Moreland and Pearce. Now, Moreland, since I think game 1 or 2 against the Yankees 2 series ago, hurt his hamstring or his knee or something. So he has really been limited in terms of he's only played the field once or twice, and he's really just been a pinch hitter off the bench. And as soon as he gets a hit, he comes off and they pinch run for him. And that's when they put out, whatever it may be. So Steve Pearce, guy that got the trade deadline, has been unbelievable for them. Big hits and big spots, 7 hits, 7 runs. Every time he's been on base, he gets home. Really, 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 really good bat for him. But the thing that's underrated about him is he's not known for his defense, but he has done a great job filling in for Moreland. Moreland is a Gold Glove first baseman, if you don't know. But he, with him being out, Pearce has done a great job. Pearce's big thing, Jordy, if you notice, he's a big split guy. Almost every time if there's a close play, he gets in the split every time. That's like his move.
I've seen that a lot. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. So those two main guys, and it'll be interesting to see if Moreland, with all his time off, will be back and ready to go. But the two of them have one being a righty, one being a lefty. It's sort of towards the end of the year, it came down to who was pitching lefty or righty. That obviously Pearce being the righty, he would start, and Moreland being lefty, he would start for the opposite pitchers. So can't really go wrong with them, and two guys defensively who get the job done. Now, Jordy, give me the top 2 or 3 guys that play the mess that is first base for the Dodgers.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head right there and calling it a mess is a pretty good word to use. They have Max Muncy, who I mentioned, plays a lot of first base for him. They can also plug Cody Bellinger, one of their outfielders, into first base. David Freese has played a little bit for him as well. We're going to talk a lot more about Bellinger when we get to the outfield, but Max Muncy has been a power hitting infielder for the Dodgers. He has 2 homers in the postseason. He's only batting 182 in 33 ABs, and he does draw a lot of walks, though. I should mention that. He has an on-base percentage of 372, which is actually the 4th best on the team, 3rd best if you take Ryu, the pitcher, out, who only has 5 plate appearances in the postseason. So he at least can get on base for him. He scored 7 of the 43 runs, tied for a team best with Manny Machado. So he definitely can be a source of runs and a source of offense for this LA team. Gave a little bit on David Freese. You probably remember him from the 2011 playoffs with the Dodgers, traditionally third baseman, but he has played a little bit of first for him, so just mention him now. He is batting 300, coming off the bench with a few starts here and there, but does have a homer, 5 ribbies, which is the same as Max Muncy, so he's had a couple clutch hits for LA. Bellinger, just to give a quick rundown on him, but we'll come back. 139, 1 homer, 4 ribbies, 4 runs scored. He has gotten on base via the walk 5 times, on base percentage 244. So, I mean, kind of the same story as LA. The production value a little bit further down than what you're seeing out of the Red Sox, but definitely good fielding options there. Bellinger's pretty athletic. Muncy, a bigger guy, but a good first base glove for him. And Freese, just kind of that veteran utility guy for him. But definitely a lot of options that they have in terms of what they like out of them.
So what do you think they do with the DH?
Who the
do you think they
Dodgers?
do you think they start Bellinger at first and put Muncy as a DH, or do you think they keep Muncy at first, keep Bellinger in the outfield, and go with someone else for the DH?
Yeah, so they could do a couple different things there. They obviously have a guy that you were talking about, like Matt Kemp, that they could plug in. They have guys like Chris Taylor who can play center field. He can play second base. He can play shortstop. Really, they can kind of mess around with how they want to in game 1 and then change it up in game 2 if they want to put in different players. I mean, Bellinger, I think you could probably plug in at first and see, still pretty productive lineup. You still have speed if you put Taylor out there, or even if you put Enrique Hernandez out in center field. I think you can get some options there. You can also put him at second, put Taylor out in the outfield. Really, they can do a lot of different things in terms of how they get into. So this is where that mess that you were talking about, Greg, really comes into play, because they have a lot of different options that they can, throw around. To give you an option or give you an idea, in Game 7 of the NLCS, they had Muncy start at first base. They had Taylor in second, but then moved him out into the outfield after they pulled Jock Peterson. So there's another guy they can throw out into the outfield too, and another guy they could possibly put in at DH, because that guy is, not necessarily the best fielding outfielder, but a good power bat. That, especially if they're playing a guy they think that the price was catching lightning in a bottle, they could potentially throw him out and get something going there. I'm now double checking to make sure he's not left-handed, which I think he might be. Yeah, he is. So they wouldn't start him against David Price. But again, a lot of options that they have there, kind of the MO of how LA runs their ship.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring it up is because,
it's going to be a big thing for the Red Sox too.
Well, no, it goes into the factor of first base, comparing the two teams and who has the better first baseman. Max Muncy was a guy that all year has been top of the top stat-wise, right, at first base, hitting-wise at least. So I'm not sure how he is defensively, but, I think that offensively, it's tough to give it to the Red Sox, despite Pierce hitting big hits and big RBIs and big moments, and despite Moreland doing what he does. I mean, the fact that Muncy all year has been unreal, and it looks like he's had a perfect fielding percentage in the postseason. But it's hard to pick against Muncy, as well as Bellinger. Who you got?
Who would I rather start?
No, who's better, Dodgers or Red Sox? I'm saying it's harder to pick. It's hard to pick against Bellinger and Muncy offensively compared to Pierce and Moreland. So I think I might have to give the edge to the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give the edge to them, more on a potential standpoint. I know that's going against what I did with the catchers, but I think, like what we were talking about with Mookie Betts and JD Martinez, I think we have not seen nearly what we should be seeing out of both Muncy and Bellinger. I think both of them can hit a lot better, and can really be, sources of, where this offense is going to come from. So I'm going to give it to them. I think fielding wise, both are pretty solid. I might give the defensive edge to the Red Sox, but I think the offensive possibility outweighs the defensive edge here, especially when you factor in how they can shift one of those players into a DH spot.
Yeah, all right. So I think we agree there. Second base, Jordy. Give me the Dodgers second base positioning and who plays and what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started to name a little bit of it, but they have guys like Enrique Hernandez, Chris Taylor, Brian Dozier. They have a ton of different guys that have played first base for him. Max Muncy, or second base for them. Max Muncy's even played a little bit of second base, Greg. Chase Utley, who won't be active, is also on their team. Austin Barnes, one of their catchers we talked about. He's played some second base for him as well. And all these guys, pretty solid second baseman for him. No one really making a ton of different errors, and have had solid fielding percentages throughout the regular season. And in the postseason, we've seen all four, Hernandez, Dozier, Taylor, and Muncy, have played, and none of them have made errors, knock on wood. We've seen Hernandez mainly in the 2 spot, but we mentioned Chris Taylor coming in a little bit in the postseason. So again, it kind of comes down to who they decide to play and how that plug and play is going to work for the Dodgers. But, they have a ton of different options, and Dave Roberts really can get creative when it comes down to, who's starting, how he wants to attack this team, if he wants to build speed, if he wants to build power, really kind of getting a feel of how to play this Red Sox team.
So who's been starting for them mostly at second? Because it does look like Dozier has a lot of at-bats.
Yeah, Dozier has a lot of at-bats, but Enrique Hernandez.
He does not look like he has a lot of at-bats.
He has 1 start. Hernandez has 7 starts at second base in the postseason.
Okay, so Hernandez their second baseman. All right.
It's what they've been primarily using, but Muncy's had 2 starts there. Dozier's had 1. Taylor's had 1. They've all gotten a decent amount of play there throughout the postseason, regular season. But Hernandez has been their go-to guy.
All right, good recap. Jordy, the second baseman for the Red Sox, Ian Kinsler, who they traded for at the deadline, and Brock Holt, sort of been splitting it, but mainly that's because, again, the lefty-righty matchup, Brock Holt being a lefty and Kinsler being the righty. Cora's a big-time lefty-righty matchup guy here all season as well as the playoffs. And Brock Holt sort of earned a lot of playing time based on how he shredded the Yankees. But Kinsler struggled a little bit, especially recently, with not having a great LCS, but he really is the guy that they want to be their second baseman. Defensively, that's just a natural position, and he sort of has been doing well enough. But I mean, he hasn't been putting up the numbers like Brock Holt, who doesn't strike out as much. Kinsler has 11 strikeouts in the playoffs to Brock Holt's 3. So the Red Sox prefer guys to put the bat in the ball, and Brock Holt has 6 RBIs compared to Kinsler's 2. But you can't really go wrong with either one of them. The thing that's interesting, I think, here, Jordy, that we have to discuss is in the National League Park, Alex Cora said he would put Mookie Betts at second.
Yep.
Start JD Martinez in the outfield, because you're not going to sit JD Martinez for any game he mentioned in the National League Park. So you're either going to see Bradley Jr. sit, Benintendi sit, or rather just have Kinsler or Holt sit second base and put Mookie Betts there, who, if anybody knows, was a second baseman to start his career, but because Pedroia was at second, they decided the Red Sox organization decided to move him to the outfield, and it obviously has paid off, him winning a Gold Glove. But Jordy, let's rank it based on as if Betts was not a part of the second base unit. Let's just rank it. Let's just rank it Kinsler and Holt versus Hernandez and Dozier.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. Got me a little stumped there, Greg. I think I'm going to go, honestly, with the Red Sox here, because the Dodgers have kind of fallen short on what they've been doing. Dozier, I think, I don't know if it's what we've talked about, and it's been in a funk because he hasn't played a ton, especially in the postseason, sort of one of his first experiences with it. And Hernandez, really, what you want out of this guy is him getting on base, being one of your main guys in terms of, mainlining your offense. And he really hasn't done that. He's batting 115, is 258 on base percentage. Just kind of tough to see there. So I'm going to go with the Red Sox. I think that what they bring to the table, really just a little more complete. And I think between what Kinsler does batting 250 and Brock Holt batting 333, both have homers, both have ribbies. I just think that they are in a better spot. They have better potential. And I know we weren't including Mookie, but I think moving Mookie down there wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I looked it up. He did play 6 full innings at second base this year. So got some solid experience in 2018.
Jordy, I could have said it better myself, and I agree 100%. This team is primed and destined, and those two primed and destined, and really good.
Yeah, and I think another thing too, kind of comes back to what we talked about with the starting pitching. I think that the back end of what LA has, I think the Red Sox, just in general, their batting can do pretty well against them. But I just have a feeling that these guys, what they saw versus Houston, I think, gives the Red Sox offense such a leg up in whomever they have to face next. Whether they just said, all right, we're going to have you now play the statistically best players from across Major League Baseball that aren't Boston Red Sox. I think it just gives them such a big advantage there.
Yeah, no, I like it. And Jordy, I mean, you're making all my points for me.
All
right.
Me the knowledge for nothing. Let's move to third base, though.
Third
want to start with
all right,
Red Sox?
Yeah, I'll start with the Red Sox. Rotating door here between Rafael Devers and Eduardo Nunez. Again, another lefty-righty matchup. Devers being the lefty, also super young, but doesn't hit great against lefties, and Nunez, the righty, seems to hit lefties as well as, according to Cora, hits particularly fast. Guys who throw the ball really fast, he hits them really well, according to Cora. So tough because Devers actually has more bats than Nunez, simply because he's got the power and he sort of got the RBI numbers throughout the season as well as the playoffs. And Nunez is really in there for his defense. He's more consistent defensively versus Devers, who is a better bat than he is a fielder. Granted, Nunez has made a couple errors fielding wise this postseason, and so has Devers. But Nunez is sort of their more defensive third baseman, and I would say would be their weakest bat in a lineup outside of the catchers. So he's still a good hitter, but he's probably the weakest outside of the catchers in a very good lineup. So Devers being the better bat, but Nunez probably gets more play time just because of the defense and the lefty-righty matchup. Jordy, give me a third baseman for the Dodgers. I don't want to tip my hand.
Yeah, so it's all through Justin Turner, guy who we mentioned spent a little bit of time on the DL. He did end up starting 90 games for them at third base in the regular season, but has started all 11 games for the Dodgers in the postseason. He's been, one of their shining stars, if you will, batting 279, on base percentage of 367. He's got a homer, a couple RBI. We obviously remember what he did last year in the World Series. That factor certainly will be on display here. He is Gritty's cousin. He is the bearded man himself. I'm not sure what else needs to be said about Justin Turner, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, You're not wrong. They also Manny Machado obviously can play third, and you mentioned Max Muncy,
Yep.
who sort of plays everything for them. But Justin Turner, I mean, you're talking about one of the top third basemen, sort of in the league, if you will.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I give them the edge. You know,
I give him the edge too. It's tough to go against Turner.
Yeah, he's got the defense, he's got the hitting, he's got the beard. So, and he had a great postseason in World Series last year. So
yeah,
you
got to go with the pedigree there.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that. So head over to shortstop, Jordy. Give me the Dodgers shortstop.
Yeah, so their shortstop runs through the man that they did acquire at the trade deadline.
Bag. Sorry, you
Greg
were saying
is
something?
letting us know. It is Manny Machado. Yeah, Greg, walk us through Manny Machado, because I've heard it from you. I've heard it from a couple of my other Red Sox fans. Walk us through the history of Manny Machado in the Red Sox.
He's always been a guy that is been too cocky for his own good, in terms of he's been the best player on a terrible team, that being the Orioles, right? And he's always been a guy that he has some RBI numbers, has some power numbers, and he can hit home runs, but he doesn't play. He plays without respect, right? He plays the game looking out for him, not his teammates, not he cares about his own stats more than anything else. And the truth of that is, he slides dirty, spikes up into Pedroia, ending Pedroia's season last year or 2 years ago. And just a guy that again thinks he's way better than he is because he was the best player on a terrible team for all those years. And yes, he can put up home runs, but he's just one of those guys. He's just every team has one. He's just one of those scumbag guys, kind of like who's the guy for the Flyers that Scott Hartnell, kind of like Scott Hartnell.
Scott Hartnell.
Yeah, just like a scumbag who everyone hates except for the fans and of that team.
Pretty sure a lot of people like Scott Hartnell that weren't Flyers, Blue Jackets, or Predators fans. Those are the other teams he played for.
Wasn't Scott Hartnell the guy with the curls and kind of? Okay, fine. We'll use Tom Wilson.
All right, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
We'll use Tom Wilson.
Yeah. Well, they're the Capitals. Yeah, I know my hockey. Don't. Another pod. No, that's fun. No, I'm glad that you walked us through the history. Yeah, I mean, obviously he had the slew foot in the NLCS with Jesus Aguilar. Yeah, and I mean, he's been their sole shortstop throughout the postseason. They had Kike Hernandez play a little bit, Corey Seager play a little bit there before he got hurt. Chris Taylor's played a good amount there, but really it's run through Machado. And I mean, he, for all intents and purposes, Greg, hasn't fully lived up to the expectations, batting 250, 313 batting average, 3 homers, 9 ribbies. So, for a guy that, does pump his own tires enough, he should be batting better. And, it's something where if he really wants to land that mega contract that he probably will get, no matter how he does in the postseason or in the World Series, but he's gotta probably bat at least 350 in the World Series to, really cement himself as the premier shortstop across baseball, especially if he's going to be making those claims of it's shortstop or bust, rather than a team saying, we're going to give you all this money, you're going to play wherever the fuck we tell you.
Yeah, no, and the reason why he switched to shortstop is so that because shortstops get paid more than third basemen, so he just wanted a fucking huge contract because he's a piece of shit. But sorry, that's an aggressive thing to say, but he,
That's okay. It's okay.
He's not
Greg's got
helping.
some feelings.
He's not helping his cause with the things that he does. But
Tell us about the Red Sox shortstop.
yeah, Xander Bogaerts, sort of one of those guys who under the radar, sneakily top prospect and a top shortstop in the league. Had a career year for RBIs, batting behind JD Martinez, but career year for RBIs and this postseason has not disappointed in what he's been able to do in that 5 spot. He gets on base a lot for this team. Been on base over 10 times, or scored only 3 times though. But he ignites and starts rallies, or he takes pitchers deep, and then he's also the general on defense. He's setting up guys in the offense. He's setting up guys in the defense, telling infielders where to go. Always every mound visit. Most middle infielders head to the mound during mound visit so they can know what sign is coming, so they know what pitch is coming. Bogaerts does more than that. He goes in and says something to the pitcher as well as just listening to what the new signs are going to be for the pitch they're throwing, and he really has an input on that. And people really respect him on the team, unlike Machado. So completely unbiased opinion. A guy who has 4 walks and 2 strikeouts, so good ratio there. Completely unbiased opinion. I'm going Bogaerts and the Red Sox for better shortstop.
No, I'm gonna go with him as well. I think you hit a lot of nails on the head. The number one being him as the general. I think that's so huge. The leader of the infield. I think he's got that more so than Manny Machado does, and I think he's batted better. Well, he has statistically batted better, but I mean, I just think leading across all categories and edging out Machado that way. So I'm going to give it to Bogaerts as well.
I love it. Let's do the outfield as a lump sum.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, especially because of what we talked about before with the Red Sox and how they might have to tackle the National League Park and how the Dodgers are going to have to tackle the American League Park. So really, I mean, I think both teams, a lot of it runs through where their outfield is, what their outfield's comprised of. The Dodgers have Jock Peterson, Cody Bellinger, and Yasiel Puig as their main 3, and I say that quote unquote because they can throw different guys out there. We mentioned it before. They can move Hernandez. They can move Chris Taylor. They could. I mean, they can put a couple other guys out there. Matt Kemp. Yeah, he's been another big guy for them throughout this season. But you know how they decide to tackle the DH, especially for game 1 and 2. I mean, it sounds chalk enough, but it's could determine if they have a leg up or if they're just going to let home field be home field for the Red Sox and return to LA down 2-0.
No, and I think with Puig's inconsistency in the outfield, I think they throw him at DH, and I think they throw Kemp or Taylor, give them the starts.
Yeah, that's not a bad call at all.
Just because, especially in right field, Fenway has such a weird right field. You need someone like Kemp who has the veteran experience of being able to navigate tough outfields. Where Puig, it's a toss-up, but he's going to catch the ball on a routine fly ball, let alone a ball that's rattling around in the strange right field that is Fenway Park. So, yeah. Those 5 guys, offensively, statistically too, you're talking about some of their leaders on their team with Bellinger and Puig and Peterson in terms of RBIs and home runs and sort of granted Machado's come in and because he's in that 3rd, 4th spot in the order, he gets the RBIs currently, but someone's got to knock those guys in. The outfielders are the ones who are getting on base. Jock Peterson has scored 5 times. Bellinger scored 4 times, and Puig 3 times. So, those guys are really, really doing big things. The thing that I don't like about these 3 outfielders, Jordy, is their strikeouts.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, they've been all of them have double-digit strikeouts in the postseason.
Dodgers in general, big strikeout team.
which is huge. So
almost twice as many as the Red Sox have.
And I think part of that has to do with the fact that the Brewers pitchers are great, and
that's a good point.
Who else they play?
The Braves.
Yeah, the Braves have had decent pitching all year, but the Red Sox pitchers outside of, Purcell's a ground ball pitcher. Price has sort of become a ground ball pitcher. He can't really blow up by people anymore, and Jesus,
Evaldi.
Evaldi is a strikeout pitcher just because he throws 102 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And Sale tries to be a strikeout pitcher, or he is a strikeout pitcher all year, but with him being a shadow of himself based on the injury and then now this like flu or whatever he got, who knows what he's going to be in terms of strikeouts. So that actually could help them, help the Dodgers out, I'm saying, because the Red Sox pitchers their stuff isn't as nasty strikeout wise, starting pitchers strikeout wise as some of they've been seeing, but
I think regardless,
those three outfielders are really good, or 4 or 5 outfielders you mentioned for the Dodgers are really good. Do you want to make
regardless?
Do you want to make your point and then I'll get into the Red Sox outfield?
Oh yeah, I forgot you hadn't gotten into them. I was gonna say regardless, it's tough no matter how they plug and play their outfield to match the Red Sox outfield just on paper in general and what they've been doing in terms of the postseason. So break them down for us, Greg, because it is. This is the main line of the Boston Red Sox, and this is the express train coming down the tracks into Los Angeles.
So MVP, let's start here.
Yep.
Mookie Betts. Like I said, he's sort of been down this postseason. Hasn't had as good a postseason as he had a regular season. But he's been on base 8 times and he scored all 8 of those times. So when he gets on base, the Red Sox score. That's just a fact. That's just the way it's been. So he needs, well, not every time, but let's see, 8 out of 13 times he's been on base, he's scored. That's still a pretty good percentage, would you say?
Yeah, I would think so.
So when he gets on base, he scores, and that's huge for this team. And they go as far as he goes in terms of getting on base. And the same could be said about Andrew Benintendi. Andrew Benintendi has a better clip than Mookie Betts. He's been on base 11 times, Jordy, and he scored 9 runs.
9 times.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So
I was quoting Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah. The 2 of them are 1-2 in the order. The 2 of them are 1-2 in the batting order. And if those 2 guys get on base, again, Benintendi in the outfield as well. And the third one, Jackie Bradley Jr., who is arguably the worst hitter of the 3, turned around and was the American League Championship Series MVP based on the huge home runs he's had and at the bottom of the order, as we mentioned at the beginning of this pod. So the 3 of them, all 3 of them could be outfielder or Gold Glovers in the outfield. And then you throw in the JD Martinez, who his whole career, he's been a pretty decent outfielder. The only reason why he's not playing outfield is because you have 3 elite athletes and speed guys in the outfield, and Betts, Benintendi, and Bradley ahead of Martinez. So the 4 of them easily, for me, are better than the 4 or 5 guys the Dodgers have. Just because you talk about Bradley, who should have a Gold Glove, Betts, who has a Gold Glove, and Benintendi just gets overshadowed because he's got 2 other guys who are unreal in the outfield with them. Chris Sale said it best. He said Bradley Jr., Benintendi, and Betts have probably per start saved every pitcher on the team at least 1 or 2 runs per start. So that's saying a lot from a guy like Chris Sale and a starting pitcher for a team. So, Benintendi had 2 unbelievable catches in the Astros series to help the Red Sox win a couple games with that diving slider, and then the one against the wall in Game 5. So, Jordy, I'm going with Red Sox outfielders.
I made it pretty obvious that I am as well. I think this is the easiest lock of every single position.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm a big fan of that. So it sounds like we got more Red Sox than we do Dodgers heading into the bullpen in terms of comparing position to position. But it sounds like we got more heading into the bullpen. I'll talk quickly on the Red Sox bullpen, Jordy, and you can educate us in the pod about the Dodgers bullpen. So the Red Sox bullpen all year has been their sort of Achilles heel, and this postseason has been the complete opposite of the regular season. And I'll explain it this way. Craig Kimbrell, ever heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
All season has been arguably the best or one of the best closers in the American League. In this offseason, this postseason, he's 5 for 5, right? 5 saves, 5 opportunities. But his ERA, Jordy, 7.11.
Well, why didn't you say 7-11? Come on. Joke was right there. Come on.
Too obvious. Low-hanging fruit. But he did get a 6-out save against the Astros, and he has had some big strikeouts here and there. But the big thing that he hasn't had the command, and we talked about a little bit, but when the stat was crazy that got me was when he has 3 or more days of rest, Craig Kimbrell, his ERA normally at like let's say a 1 something.
Mm-hmm.
When he has 3 or more days of rest, it's like a 6.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, so the point is he needs to play. He needs to
makes sense.
Yeah, and if you're Corey, you're getting him in game 1 regardless of the situation right away. In my opinion, you need to play him because he needs to pitch game 1 so that if you need him game 2, he's not on that rest. And you look at game 5 in the Astros series, he had a 1-2-3, or he had a walk, but he had 1-2-3 inning in that Astros game 5 series because he pitched the game before. So the proof is in the numbers right there. He didn't let up a run in that 9th in game 5, whereas all the other appearances he had, because that was the first time all postseason he'd ever pitched on less than 3 days rest. Every appearance in the postseason has been on 3 or more days of rest.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, and a kid that came out of nowhere, Ryan Brazier, who was
He's been solid.
He was in Japan or something last year. He was the AAA closer for the Red Sox for basically the entire year until September call-ups, and he comes out of nowhere and is now their numbers. He's their setup man. He's out. He's their 7th inning guy, and then it goes Matt Barnes, who again regular season wasn't great, but unreal in the postseason. So it's sort of been the reverse. Like I said, Kimbrell was always the shutdown guy. It was always, let's just make sure we give Kimbrell a lead. Let's just limp into Kimbrell. And now it's, our bullpen's gonna shut everyone down, and then Kimbrell's gonna be the weak spot. So it's been a reversal of fortune here in the postseason. But their bullpen has been sort of a positive light for them, even though everyone said it was gonna be a negative. Jordy, break down the Dodgers bullpen for us.
So I got a question about the Red Sox bullpen. Just one guy in there. What do you, or really just a little sabermetric, what do you think the odds are that Joe Kelly and Yasiel Puig get into a fight? Or if there is a fight, that the umpires just pull everyone aside and let these two guys go hero mode, fight for the World Series. Goes into 12 innings in the game 7. Who wins a fight, Joe Kelly or Puig?
Puig is an animal, dude. He's like
it's just insane.
His shoulders are bigger than my head. He's jacked. I mean, animal.
Puig might knock out Floyd Mayweather.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, animal, and he's just a physical specimen in terms of how big he is. Joe Kelly's a skinny little guy, and he throws 100 miles an hour because he's a
crazy person, though.
Yeah, he's got all his power from his legs, and he's just But anyway, that'd be electric. Both of them. Kelly throws 101 out of the bullpen and just throws gas and wears glasses, and Puig licks his bat and gives a DMX second sign when he hits a home run in Game 7 of a fucking championship championship series game. So it's tough. It's a great question. I was a little long there with the Red Sox bullpen, but give me a quick little synopsis of the Dodgers bullpen.
So the Dodgers bullpen has been their bread and butter. Where they're starting pitching, where it has faltered at times, their bullpen has picked it up. Ryan Madsen, I mentioned, he has 2 of their 7 wins. Julio Urias has a third. Pedro Baez has 4. So 4 of their 7 wins have been credited to bullpen pitchers. They obviously have Kenley Jansen, their closer, who is unreal. 3 saves in 6 appearances. The rest of those appearances, though, they were not blown saves. They were just appearances. 0.00 ERA, 10 strikeouts in 6.2 innings. Same thing with Pedro Baez, 0 ERA. 10 Ks over 6.2 with a win and a hold. Caleb Ferguson, another guy that holds it down for him. I mentioned Kenta Maeda, who they moved back into the bullpen during the regular season, and it's still been okay. He's had in postseason. He does have a hold, has an ERA close to 5 in as many appearances. Madsen is their big middle relief guy to really help send it over into some of those guys that get holds for him. Dylan Floro, another guy with a 0 ERA and 4.2 innings. Ferguson is 3 innings pitched. So, if the Dodgers can get it over to their bullpen with a lead, it's going to require the Red Sox to grind it out and really claw their way back in. So, I mean, we'll have to see how these late inning heroics that the Red Sox have done and what their offense has been able to do, especially in their ability to get starters out of the game so quickly. We'll have to see if that carries over to this Dodger team, because they've been pretty solid once their starters hand over the ball to them. There's been some overusage at time, but they're the guys that are on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good analysis, and Kenley Jansen, I thought coming to the year or coming into the postseason, the closer there for the Dodgers, I thought he was struggled a little bit, and he sort of gave up that.
That's a crazy thing, yeah.
Yeah, he gave up that home run there on the last day that forced them to go into that playoff game, right? If I have memory correctly, but he's been lights out, right? This postseason, so
3 for 3 and a 0 ERA in over 6 innings pitched.
Yeah, and that's sort of what he did all year. So you're right. The Red Sox normally hit bullpens really well, but I think the Dodgers bullpen is just that much better.
Solid.
That much better than what the Red Sox have seen this postseason, really. So
you have to wonder too of the fact that they've used guys like Rich Hill, Clayton Kershaw is almost ceremonial, but they've used guys out of the bullpen. So in the later games of this series, does Dave Roberts decide to do that in terms of either preserving a game to not get too far out, which he doesn't necessarily have to because he has these different guys, or if he has to turn to a Madison Bumgarner like Game 7 scenario, if it does get there, and we'll get to our picks in a minute. But he has that ability too, especially if Kershaw pitches games 1 and 5. He might have the ability there, and we'll see. We'll see how it all goes down.
Yeah, who are you giving the edge to?
I'm going to give the edge to the Dodgers bullpen. I do think it can be close, especially if Kimbrel figures it out. And if he plays, if he plays like 4 of the first 5 games, it could just be incredible.
I begrudgingly want to give it to the Dodgers bullpen just because of track record. But it's hard to go against what the Red Sox have been able to do all year, all postseason, I should say. But you're right. I think ultimately it has to be give to the Dodgers bullpen in the end. I'm gonna stick with it. All right. So, Jordy, we've gone through it all. I think we tipped more positions towards the Red Sox. Let's start with how many games you think this series is going before we turn in and go with who wins.
I think 6.
Any number for that, or that's just a safe number?
What, a confidence rating?
No, any reason for why you think it's going 6, or are you just saying 6 because that's like you assume that each team is going to win at least a game or 2 at home?
Yeah, so I think my thought is That exactly. I think each team probably snags a couple at home. I do think the team that I pick for the World Series has a better home field advantage, but has shown, especially in their previous round, the ability to perform on the road. So even if they were even if the first round or the first round of the games in one city is split, similarly to their last appearance in the World Series, I think they can really strike while the iron is hot away from the ballpark. And I really just tipped who I'm picking, but I do think that they'll get it done in 6 innings. And do you want me just to say it?
No.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me do
6
mine.
games. Yeah, you do yours.
So with Kershaw going tomorrow, and who knows what Sale's going to do, I too was going to say 6 games, Jordy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to switch it to 5.
Okay.
I'm going to switch it to 5. Which means that one of these teams is going to have to go on a. One of these teams is going to either have to win 3 in a row or 2 in a row twice, or something like that, in order for them to win in 5. So, spoiler alert, I'm going Red Sox in 5, and here's why. I think Kershaw, just because I'm unsure of the health of Sale, I think Kershaw may. I have a feeling that the Dodgers will steal one in Fenway, just like the Astros did.
Okay.
But then I think the Red Sox, who have not lost yet, knock on wood, have not lost yet, will, on the road, will sweep in LA.
Okay. Yeah, I have the Red Sox in 6. I think they split in Fenway. I'm not sure if they lose tomorrow, but I think they split in Fenway. I think they probably take games 3 and 5, and then they come back and win in game 6 at Fenway.
Yeah. Originally I wanted to say 6, but
no.
I don't know, man. I'm. It's so tough because the more we talk about the Dodgers, the more I'm unconvincing myself about how more I'm convincing myself about how they're a good team and they'll give the Red Sox a run for their money. But
yeah,
it's really the Red Sox offense versus the Dodgers pitching.
No, it's absolutely what it is.
Because if the Red Sox don't hit, regardless of what their pitching does, the Red Sox don't score runs, they don't win games, and that's been the case all playoff. The 2 games they lost, they scored 2 runs versus the Astros, lost 7-2, and they scored 2 runs versus the Yankees, lost 6-2. Every other game, they scored at least 4 runs. So if they can score 4 or more, their offense, and they score more than 2, maybe even, I think they win. And that's really going to be the matchup what it comes down to. Because if the Red Sox pitching is good enough to, if the Red Sox pitching is good enough to allow the other team to score less than what the Red Sox put up, being like they won 5, Red Sox won 5-4, 16-1, 4-3, 7-5, 8-2, 8-6, 4-1. So it's like Red Sox pitching gives up enough, but not enough to lose unless the offense doesn't. The offense has got to go. That's the point. They're not winning a game 1-0. The Red Sox. They're not winning a game 2-0. They're winning games 7-5, 8-6. Big numbers, crooked numbers on the board.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just to also get the rest of the team heard, Matt is also picking the Red Sox in 6. Which, Greg, I got to tell you, I had to put a little bit of money down. 3-1 odds. The Red Sox pulled off. It is the lowest number. You extend it out to 7, it gets a little bit higher. Red Sox winning in 5. I think it was like plus 500, something like that, 5-1. So my 3.5 to 1, a little more, but I think that's a pretty solid number. Then if you get over to the Dodgers winning, it becomes much higher since Vegas has the Red Sox favored. But yeah, I think Red Sox in 6, or the Red Sox winning, I think is safe to say. Greg, I got to ask you this. And actually, I'll wait. Do you have any other thoughts on the World Series before I ask you my question?
Go Sox.
Okay. So this is a Boston LA championship. The Patriots are looking pretty solid. The Rams are looking pretty solid. The Celtics are looking solid. The LeBrons are now located in Los Angeles. The Bruins are looking solid. The Kings, But do you think that we could get how many Boston LA championship series do you think we could get this year? Realistically. In the next 4.
No chance. No chance the Lakers beat the Golden
beat the
State
Warriors.
Warriors. So
But it's the LeBrons.
No chance that happens. I think the Kings have a shot just based on the West is just going to beat up on each other, just like they do every year. They're going to beat up on each other. And so this is hockey now. So the Kings have a shot just because there are a lot of good teams in the West and like Vegas. I mean, the hardest part, I think, for the Kings will be making it there. But the Red Sox are the Bruins are no guarantee. Yeah, the Bruins no guarantee to make it simply because they. I mean, you're looking at
Toronto and Tampa.
Toronto is a wagon. Tampa's a wagon. Pittsburgh's a wagon. I mean, the Capitals, Stanley Cup champs, obviously. So, I mean, those are. So I'm gonna say this is it. This is the only.
All right.
The Rams Patriots is the most realistic.
That's got to be the favorite for Super Bowl right now.
Yeah, that's the most realistic.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to if the Patriots can get home field over the Chiefs.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
If the Patriots
when's that game? Is that in 2 weeks?
The Patriots already beat the Chiefs this year.
Hey, you're right, they did. I completely forgot about that.
But the Chiefs are 5-1. The Patriots are 4-2.
Yeah, I forgot about the Kermit the Frog at Gillette this year.
So that's really that would be that. So fuck it. I'm gonna say 2. Fuck it. I'm gonna say.
All right.
I'm gonna say.
See, that's what we hope for here. We want those hot takes.
I love it.
But Greg, I think that's gonna do it. Let's you'll be down here after the World Series. We might have to get a little a post World Series podcast, or get Emily to finally watch Major League and we talk about that. But we'll figure that out at another point in time. Greg, I thank you. This has been a fun season, and go baseball.
Go Sox.
Peace.